Yes, I'm your host, Joel, co-host Ben, and the NFL draft was this past week, and Ben showed out on his NFL mock draft. Absolutely annihilated the most respected people in the mock draft business. Tied to Albert Breer, but Breer's a GOAT. And then Ed Holm at Yahoo Sports also had 17 points along with Ben. The only group that did better than Ben on their first round mock draft was our 6-3 combined mock draft, which put out a whopping
20
points.
Yeah.
And we got 8 out of 10 exactly right in the top 10. But the other 2 that we didn't get right, we just flip-flopped. That was Evan Neal and Derek Stingley.
Yep.
So the most impressive, probably top 10, I think anyone had. Yeah. I just speaking of big winners, Ben, just kind of wanted your thoughts on what team did the best at drafting.
Yeah. I think there's a consensus going around that the Jets had an incredible draft. I definitely think they're a winner. I have my reservations about a few of their picks still, but I think they're, I would give them an A grade. The Ravens definitely certainly won the draft, in my opinion. Kyle Hamilton at number 14 is a great value pick. That some people were lauding him up to be. I still thought he was a top 10 value for sure, maybe even top 8. And he fits exactly what they want to do. They turning Marquise Brown into Tyler Linderbaum was smooth. David Ojabo is a great spot there because, if they get anything out of him this year, great, that's gravy. But he fits that defense, obviously.
Like McDonald, yeah.
Donald being there, and you get essentially a top 15 at worst, talent in the second round. So that's kind of a steal. I know, there's the injury problem, but Daniel Falele also is kind of a wild card there. I know a lot of people liked him, a lot of people didn't like him, but the dude's a mountain. And I think he'll fit exactly what the Ravens want. So they did everything that they did fit their roster. So I saw them as one of the biggest winners, along with the Jets. I thought the Chiefs had a great draft. And then really the Lions. I thought the Lions had a really, really, really good draft, by all accounts. I didn't love certain things about it. I thought they could have done different things, but really when it's all said and done, I thought they had one of the better drafts. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The Jets were pretty much unanimous. I looked across a spreadsheet of 18 draft grades by analysts alike, and I think the lowest grade given to the Jets on all of them was like a B, and then I think all the rest of them were A- or higher. And so, their first, 4-5 picks are going to make pretty significant contributions with, Sauce Gardner. It's going to be interesting to see it. They got their corner, top 4, and we've always been a little suspect about drafting corners in the top 5. But, 2 of them went in this draft, and I think that says a lot to the talent. I think Sauce has a lot of upside with him. He may even be better than Okudah, according to many analysts.
I think he is, but. And
then, Garrett Wilson, I think on most, big boards for wide receivers, Garrett Wilson was a unanimous top 3 wide receiver.
Yep.
And then Jermaine Johnson slipping all the way to 26. The Jets were like, all right, we'll trade up and go get him because he had fallen long enough. Analysts during the first round of the draft were just like, what is going on here? It's not, a couple of people said he may have had some rough interviews, some character concerns with Jermaine Johnson. Breece Hall, by all accounts, was the best running back in this class. Maybe some have gone back and forth with Kenneth Walker. But then Jeremy Ruckert. I think by the end of the season, he may be the starting tight end.
Yep.
For them. Yep. So they've got
they made their team significantly better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then they had to be. They were horrendous. So it's not that hard. But when you have 2 top 10 picks, but we've seen teams mess that up before too. So
if I had to do an overarching draft, and unfortunately, I know you didn't even mention them in theirs, and it's because they get a lot of flack from least all of us here at the 6'3", you, I, Isaiah, RJ, all think that Jordan Davis is extremely overrated. But, Eagles had a really solid draft. And I think on top, they topped it off with, in my opinion, the best undrafted free agents. I know a lot of times it doesn't matter, but the Eagles aren't a top tier team. So there's a couple of those undrafted guys that, are really going to get a shot. So they started off with obviously Jordan Davis. And then I think
Davis on the Eagles makes sense though, because they do have other guys up there.
Hargrave and Cox. Those are the two people you want your guy to learn from.
Right. And to me, then he can become that anchor. And really, the ceiling for Davis is crazy high still. He could be, just a planet eater. Just a body eater, triple team eater up there all day long. Mm-hmm. Vince Wilfork, probably with more athleticism even. So I think that pick made sense for that team.
It's a good fit for him. I think there's very few teams in the first round that if they picked Jordan Davis would have had a whole lot of, luck out of him. Right. I think, but yeah, the Eagles are a good fit for him. But then Cam Jurgens, probably in my opinion, the number 2 center behind Linderbaum, in some people's case is even better than Linderbaum. Yep. Nakobe Dean slipped to them. Obviously, that was a big one. Kieran Johnson, Grant Calcaterra is going to be a good number 2 tight end behind Goddard there. Getting Carson Strong in the undrafted free agents market with Mario Goodrich, who's a top 20 corner. Josh Jobe was another top 20 corner that a lot of people were surprised fell undrafted. Then they get Noah Ellis in the middle. Reed Blankenship, I really like. Amari Carter at safety. And even EJ Perry, I had ranked as my 10th quarterback. And so they've got Strong and EJ Perry undrafted. And Kennedy Brooks, running back at Oklahoma, at 8th in running back position, and he fell undrafted. So they went off in the undrafted market. And in my opinion, signings out of all those. So, yeah, I'm going to include the Eagles. But, yeah, you've already mentioned the Jets, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Lions. And I think the only other one that I've seen up there was with the Giants, getting Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. Wan'Dale Robinson was kind of just in case Kadarius Toney issues keep coming up and they've got to move on. So I think that was kind of why Wan'Dale out of Kentucky went there. And then I like Daniel Bellinger. He was a sleeper pick that I really liked for the Lions. I think he's out of San Diego State tight end there, and I really thought he was going to follow the Lions maybe in like the 5th round. He did not make it that far. And then getting Micah McFadden, who I think is also going to be a pretty good pick for them in the late rounds. Yep. I think they did really well there. And then Darian Beavers was their last pick, who, by all accounts, was a top 10 linebacker that somehow fell to the very late rounds. Christopher Hinton went there. Austin Allen, tight end from Nebraska, went undrafted there. And then they also signed Yusuf Corker, my 3rd-ranked fullback, Jeremiah Hall. And then, and Jabari Ellis at defensive tackle, and then Dalen Baldwin, if we want to go local there. The Giants had a couple good signings there. So all in all, I think it's been pretty unanimous on who those top 5 or 6 teams are in this draft. Who do you think had the worst draft?
Patriots, maybe. I don't want to knock their drafts because historically, they just find diamonds in the rough left and right. So it's really hard for me to knock their drafts. But it just seems like they overdrafted guys. I do like Tyquan Thornton I think he'll fit them. But that could also see that him just end up being another Justin Ross guy who's more of a track star than a football player. I didn't love any other picks. I'll be completely honest. And it was kind of an important draft in my opinion, because, when they had Tom Brady and we're kind of chugging along, I didn't really care. You never cared how they drafted, right? Because they were always in the Super Bowl. So they were always drafting late. Typically they were trading out of the first round anyway. They weren't, they were just trading to add some pieces around Brady, and then they were going to go make more runs at it. Now this was more important draft in my opinion for them, just because they weren't that good last year. They were okay, right? And to me, they didn't do that much to make themselves that bet much better. I might be wrong. Maybe there's that much better at talent evaluation. So I do kind of preface that with, I'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt just because they kind of deserve it for what they've done in the past. But yeah, I mean, I didn't love their draft at all. So
it is the Patriot way to like a guy so much that you are just going to take him, whether you feel it's 2 rounds early. You don't want to risk that chance of someone else taking your guy if you really feel like he's the guy. I think that's just kind of the Patriot way. When Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia were in Detroit, they did that with Jelani Tavai, just because they had a thought that maybe one team would have taken him before they got to pick again. So, they're pretty notorious on just, they don't care what anyone thinks. They're going to pick their guy. And I think the Belichick mind is able to, develop a team of third graders sometimes and just make it work. We remember what they did with Michael Onwenu, who even us Michigan fans were like, who knows how this guy's going to really turn out at the NFL level.
Turned out great.
And then they also got another late round offensive lineman, Andrew Stuber, in this draft. So it's like, I made the joke on Twitter, death, taxes, and the Patriots drafting a Michigan player. Like those things are certain in life. And I was surprised they picked Bailey Zappa before Sam Howell. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And they went back to back at corner with Marcus Jones and Jack Jones. Pierre Strong may be a pretty solid running back, but I already felt like they were set with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. So that was interesting. Cole Strange may be one of those diamonds in the rough. A lot of people had him as like maybe the fifth guard. So
I like Cole Strange, but but again, they drafted him so quickly. I was like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, out of Tennessee, Chattanooga, not a huge school. I think the last time a player, they said the player was drafted first round was Terrell Owens, out of Chattanooga, and so it's been a long time. I think since '93, and so that was interesting.
Another team I hated their draft. I did not like the Packers draft. It just doesn't make sense passing on that many on the receivers in round one. Like you have all these good receivers. You don't have targets for Aaron Rodgers. Yes, it's a deep receiver draft, so I understand that. So it's like one of those things where, okay, you feel like you can get a guy later and maybe he's going to be there, but man, you had opportunities there to really bolster your receiving core. And so, maybe you say the loser is Aaron Rodgers, not just the Packers, but I wasn't thrilled with their draft.
So I actually had them if I put them in order, I probably had them somewhere around 18 or 19. Just because I didn't, and we talked about it in our position rankings. I'm higher on Christian Watson. So when him falling to them there in the second round, I felt like that was good value. Quay Walker, I was already higher on. I think I actually felt better about Quay Walker than even Nakobe Dean.
Yep.
And then Devontae Wyatt, there's obviously some concerns with him too, and work ethic, but by all accounts, he was probably one of the top 3 defensive tackles in this class too. Sean Ryan from UCLA, we watched, a couple of players just beat up on him in college. And then, even Romeo Dubes, I liked him as a sleeper, as a 4th or a 5th round wide receiver. And I didn't hate that. I think Kingsley Egnabare from South Carolina is a little underrated.
Yeah.
He put up good numbers there. And then Rasheed Walker. Obviously, again, we see Big Ten guys on a regular basis. And I don't think I think he's a good backup or a swing tackle at best. I think there were a lot of rough drafts. And so I don't know if they're quite for me there. I also like Samori Toure when he transferred to Nebraska. Felt like he did pretty well. Big Ten talent.
I just don't see, to me, it was like a perfect opportunity to say, okay, cool, Aaron Rodgers is here. He wanted to come back. Let's get him. Let's show that, like, hey, we care that he came back. Let's get him somebody that, we know can be a top receiver. I'm not saying I hate, Christian Watson. I'm not saying I hate some of those other guys they got. It's just like, come on, they're not Devontae Adams. Not that anybody's going to be Devontae Adams, but like, you can't, like, to me, I'm not even sure Watson's going to be a major, like a huge contributor right away, right? I could see his trajectory more towards like the Amon-Ra St. Brown trajectory, where it's, man, he's really good by week, 12, like really good, but he's not, he's not coming out the gates as a weapon. Now, Aaron Rodgers could probably make anybody a weapon though. So,
and we'll see. I just, he was on the Pat McAfee show live, basically when they did their second pick of the first round, which is Devontae Wyatt. So he was on with him, and he was not mad about Devontae Wyatt. He's like, the Packers have always been pretty good at finding, decent wide receivers in the later rounds with like Jordy Nelson and even Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb. All those guys turned out. And it's pretty slim pickings that it happens on a regular basis. I feel like the Packers keep getting spoiled in that respect, but they already were so low in the totem pole in wide receivers where it's like they drafted 3 still. And, some of them have high upside, but I don't know if any of them are immediately going to come in and make that difference. They went very Big Ten heavy because they also signed Tyler Goodson, undrafted free agent.
There were, I should preface it, there were worse drafts. Don't get me wrong. The Cardinals. I
hated the Cardinals. The Cardinals to me
also make no sense.
The Cardinals also to me had like the worst undrafted signings on top of their really poor draft. So overall, if you count all of that stuff, I was very disappointed in the Cardinals draft.
It didn't make any sense to me. Their whole they go and get Hollywood Brown, which to me is just more of like we like Kyler Murray play, and he wanted him. And then they got Trey McBride. Okay. I don't hate Trey McBride. He probably had him as the best tight end, but what's that? Come on. There's so many other needs on that team. To me, they seems a little dysfunctional right now.
Yeah, I had the Bears, I think, 4th to last 2. I'm just going to go NFC North here, but they got good value with Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker in the second round to help bolster the secondary. Which if you ever listen to father-in-law in the room in the Bears game, it's like these guys can't cover. So I felt like they really addressed that the most. Velus Jones was taken a little early for my taste. Braxton Jones went to Southern Utah, so it's lower talent. But a lot of people expect him to be pretty good. And then they got Jack Sanborn as an undrafted sign, Master Teague as an undrafted signing. So they got a few dudes, but again, I don't think that was good. I also have the Rams really low, and who it's hard to gauge that because the Rams first pick didn't come till 104.
Right.
So it's like you don't want
hard to really crap on them when they went and won a Super Bowl, and they gave up a lot of draft capital to do it. So it's probably worth it.
They got some sleepers like Jacoby Durant. I remember even before the draft, even this day 2 started for second, third round. LaDainian Tomlinson on NFL Network before it started is like, hey, my sleeper is Jacoby Durant. I ended up getting him. I didn't watch a lot of him, but he went to South Carolina State. I didn't, watch a lot of HBCU football. And then, really other than that, I really did not like their draft. AJ Arcuri is really the only other guy I knew because he went to Michigan State.
Right. And I didn't, he was great either. So
they made the joke that when the Patriots drafted Cole Strange, they laughed at it because they were hoping he would have fallen to them at 104.
Right.
So, but again, it's hard to crap on a team that didn't get to draft till 104. So, that's why I graded them so low. But yeah, I think the Cardinals and the Patriots, the Dolphins, I don't think were great.
No.
The Browns didn't really do them any favors either, even in undrafted free agency either. Yeah.
The biggest loser might be Ryan Tannehill.
Wow.
That was wild. Well, I'm not surprised necessarily, really. At that point, one, Willis had fallen for the most part. Consensusly, he was probably rated higher than that. It's an upside pick, and if it doesn't work out, what's your fallback? Ryan Tannehill, and you know what you have there. So it's a great pick in my opinion, actually. But man, he doesn't seem too thrilled.
I actually thought that there's talks they might have drafted even Desmond Ridder at 26 in the first round.
Yeah.
Because
I like Willis better than
no one expected Willis and Pickett to both fall to 26. So Ritter's your next option there.
Yeah.
It's a weird draft because the quarterback market's so saturated. That's why a lot of these quarterbacks fell. Sam Howell to the 5th round, never expected. Carson Strong 2 months ago was almost a first round pick, or at least a second round pick, unanimously, and he went undrafted.
Well, when these mock drafts come out, I'm sure you could look at 2023 mock drafts right now, and the top 15 is going to have like 9 quarterbacks. And then they're going to throw a couple highly rated offensive linemen in there, and then a couple edge rushers, and they're going to be like, that's the top 15. Like, no, that's not actually going to happen. You got to wait to see what happens. I mean, this is a weird quarterback class, though. So
I mean, yeah, for the first mock draft I saw back in July last year was Spencer Rattler and Sam Howell 1 and 2.
Right. And Rattler is still in college and had a horrible season.
And Howell slipped to the 5th round of the Commanders.
And yeah, so it's just it's weird. So
so I kind of wanted to bounce that off you and then go NFL wise. Out of all picks, what was the best value pick?
Best value pick. Man, that's tough. Because there were a lot of good ones. I actually loved a lot of the drafts. Let me look back at this real quick.
You know, we talk about some of the big guys that like slipped, and that would be like the Malik Willis's, Quarles, Ritters.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really liked the value of getting the the Willis there. Value wise,
N'Kobe Dean slipped
really,
medical.
To me, I like the Lions getting Josh Pascal there. That's pretty valuable there. For me, the George Karlaftis at pick 30 is a great pick.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, he's top 15 talent, I think.
I was stunned. I watched a TikTok the next day, and it was a recording of that pick 30 of the Chiefs fans in their living room watching it. And they were like, let's go, George Pickens. And they hear the name George, and they're like, yeah, and they cheer, and they see Karlaftis, and they're so mad about it. And I'm like,
that's an incredible
Karlaftis over Pickens, man. Every time.
100%. Especially because they got their receiver in the second round, and Sky Moore. And Sky Moore was a value pick, in my opinion, too, because he fell a little bit.
I think a value pick for me was a 5th round Darian Canard.
Okay.
Guard. To me, he was my 3rd ranked guard. So, but the guards kind of slipped in this class, other than like Cole Strange was reached on. Luke Godeke from Central went 2nd round somehow. Sean Rion went 3rd round.
Yeah.
And then Ed Ingram went 2nd. But Jamaray Salyer was my 4th, and he fell all the way to the 6th round.
Yeah.
And then, Darian Canard to the 5th round. It was a weird grading for everyone had different big boards, I'm sure, for the guard position.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think another good one. I liked Percy Butler at a 113. I thought he was good. I also really liked Tariq Woolen.
That's mine. I was just gonna say Tariq Woolen. You said
at 153. I mean, that was
5th round pick, dude.
6'4", 200-pound corner there with speed. I mean, that's rare.
I don't know what was going on with that. For a while, he was like the top guy there. I said if the Lions somehow managed to trade around and get a 4th round pick,
he ran a 4.26.
Yeah, everything about him is elite. You're 6'4", you're a corner. You want the big physical corners, and you're running a 4.26.
Right. To me, I mean, maybe he's really dumb or something. Or maybe
that's what I said. Did he interview bad character? He went to UTSA, so the level of competition is a little different.
But maybe he can't cover anybody. But I don't know.
I actually love that pick there. That was exactly who I was gonna say. Malcolm Rodriguez slipped to the Lions out of Oklahoma State. Yeah. To me, he was like the Walmart version of N'Kobe Dean. But there's not even a medical concern with him either. So
right, exactly.
I really like that one there.
I mean, Sam Howell falling to the 5th round is a value pick. I mean, to me, I didn't love him, but I think he took some flack this year because his team sucked though. So I mean, I would have still. I mean, if you get him even in the 3rd round, you probably would have felt pretty good. And then Tyler Linderbaum, even. You could have seen him going a little bit. If you want to pick somebody in the 1st round there, you could have seen him going a lot sooner as well.
NFL wise, highest upside pick, maybe of a guy that did slip or whatever. Who's got the highest upside?
Highest upside pick. Maybe N'Kobe Dean probably is up there. David Ojabo is definitely got to be a consideration. Just because of the injury thing, I think there's upside there. Let's see. I think Cade Otton picked in the 4th round. I think that's a good pick. I think he can fit right in, especially because if Gronk isn't going to play,
So I actually have Jalen Tolbert to the Cowboys in the 3rd round, South Alabama.
Okay.
So it's a smaller school, but very explosive player.
Yeah.
Then they're down to just Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb there. So Tolbert immediately plugs in as the number 3, in my opinion. And I think he may have a better season than even Gallup. So I'm kind of high on Jalen Tolbert. In a dynasty league, I'm probably drafting him. I'm probably drafting him in the 3rd round if he falls to me in a dynasty league, maybe even 2nd. So I like that.
Here's the thing. If you're looking at pure, upside, and we'll get into the Lions draft in general. Josh Pascal's got huge upside. Jamison Williams could end up being the best player in this draft.
He could be Justin Jefferson, yeah.
He could be Justin Jefferson. He could be Tyreek Hill. And with that speed, that's why the Lions went and got him. I know we both will probably say certain things about that pick that we didn't like. My issues with the pick have nothing to do with the fact that they picked Jamison Williams. It has more to do with what they gave up to get him. So I'm thrilled the fact that they have Jamison Williams. It's just one of those. And so if you want to talk pure upside, that was an upside pick because what he could bring to that offense, if healthy and ready to go, is pretty unbelievable. So
I agree. What was your least favorite pick of this draft?
Cole Strange, probably. There were just other times. Okay, so when they picked Jamison Williams, it might have been one of my least favorite picks initially, just because to me, when they traded up, I was like, sweet, let's trade up and get like Devin Lloyd, or let's trade up and get even Kyle Hamilton there. You know what I mean? They had the opportunity to, so I would have liked a few, maybe one of those other guys. I didn't like the Kenny Pickett pick. I know hometown kid, all that. I wasn't that high on Kenny Pickett, I'll be honest. And I wasn't that high on any of the quarterbacks. So to me, it just didn't. I know the Steelers need one, but it just doesn't make sense. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think mine is the Saints 2nd round pick, and that's Alontae Taylor, Tennessee. I like Alontae Taylor as a 4th or a 5th round. So I think if we've already kind of bashed Cole Strange a little bit being early. I think Alontae Taylor was a major reach for me at corner. I had him ranked, right at 24 on corners, and so at that point he was already. I think he was the 7th corner taken off the board, and I had him at 24. I know everyone's board again is different. I'm not that high on him. James Cook also went 2nd round, but he's got the Dalvin Cook upside.
Yeah, but I like the pick, but 2nd round's a little early for me.
The only other guy that I felt like was a reach was maybe Wan'Dale Robinson and Alec Pierce. Both went 2nd round as well.
There were some bad picks, but there weren't any where I sat there other than the Cole Strange one, just because it was like, really? Like that's who you know what I mean? But there weren't any where I was just like, what in the world is going on here? Now, I will say in like the 4th and 5th round, when the punters started flying off the board, what is going on here? Because it was like 3 out of 5 picks or something stupid there. And I'm going, why are we picking punters?
I think it went like 3 out of 4 picks. It was kicker Cade York.
Yeah.
And then it went to
why are we picking the special team guys right now?
Jordan Stout and Jake Camarda. And if I'm like, if any special teams guys going, why is it Matt Ariza?
Exactly. I was that one. All of those none of those made sense to me.
And then the Bears went to go draft one in the 7th round just to finish it off with Trenton Gill. Right. But it was really interesting to me. Who's the best? Undrafted free agent guy that got signed in your opinion?
I don't know. There's a couple guys.
Justin Ross to the Chiefs.
Justin Ross to the Chiefs. That's probably my favorite one just because of the offense. I know he's had tons of injury problems, and that's why he didn't get drafted. But 2 years ago, he was considered one of the best receivers in the whole draft, in his whole class. So, he's one. Let's see. Kennedy Brooks is certainly one. You mentioned him. I'm pulling up my list right now.
Jalen Weidermeyer out of Texas A&M went undrafted to the Bills, but unfortunately, he's still going to start the season out third tight end probably. Just they got OJ Howard and Dawson Knox there, so it's not like he's just going to run in and take that spot. Charleston Rambo.
Luigi Villan, I know we talked about him. He didn't get drafted, but he was picked up. I think he's got a chance to make a roster.
Jack Sanborn.
Yep. Let's see. Dallas Flowers, I thought was a good pickup by the Colts.
Yep.
Donovan
West and Alec Lindstrom were both centers that went undrafted.
Yeah.
I like
Sterling Weatherford was good. In my opinion, he's not that different than Kyle Hamilton, other than just didn't play at the high level necessarily, didn't play at that same level. But he's on the Colts. He's got the same measurable as Kyle Hamilton. Caleb Ellaby, I mean, I think he could stick around. I mean, I don't know how long, but
we already talked about Carson Strong, Haskell Garrett, if we're allowed to say Ohio State player.
Yeah. Mario Goodrich for the Eagles, I thought was a really good one.
Josh Jobe from Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah,
Jobe was probably Alabama's worst corner, but that's not saying that much because they had studs. So
how about Mekhi Polk, wide receiver from LSU?
I mean,
that wasn't bad either.
Not bad. So there were a lot of guys
Jerrion Ely from Ole Miss.
Yep. There were a lot of guys that we thought were going to get drafted that didn't get drafted that I think have a good chance of making rosters. And that matters. So